On October 24, 1963, America was still reeling from the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Just 2 days after the killing, the alleged assassin Lee Harvey Oswald was being transferred from the city jail to the county facility. The basement of the Dallas police headquarters was packed with reporters and cameras broadcasting the move live. As Oswald was escorted through the crowd, nightclub owner Jack Ruby stepped forward, pulled out a revolver, and fired a single shot into his abdomen. Viewers at home watched in stunned silence as Oswald collapsed to the ground, gasping in pain. The footage captured the chaos, officers wrestling Ruby to the floor, while reporters shouted in confusion. Oswald was rushed to the same hospital where Kennedy had died, but shortly thereafter, he was pronounced dead. February 18, 2001. The Daytona 500 was in its final lap, and NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt Sr. was running third, blocking the field to protect his son and his driver's lead. As the cars entered turn 4, Dale Earnhardt got loose, which sent the number 3 car into the wall at nearly 160 miles an hour. The wreck didn't look fatal. Earnhardt had survived far worse in his career, but moments later it became clear that this time was different. Rescue crews rushed to the car, but the broadcast avoided close-ups, focusing instead on the race finish. Later that day, NASCAR President Mike Helton delivered the shocking news. Earnhardt had died from a basilar skull fracture. The death of Dale Earnhardt changed the sport forever and led to sweeping safety reforms that are still ongoing to this day.
How about that? All right. How about Dale? Is he okay?
Schrader has climbed out of his car. He and Earnhardt have crashed together between turns 3 and 4.
Look at Butts.
October 17, 1989 was supposed to be a celebration for baseball fans. Game 3 of the World Series between the Giants and the A's was about to begin when the live broadcast jolted violently before cutting out entirely. A 6.9 magnitude earthquake had struck the Bay Area, centered along the Loma Prieta Fault. The shaking lasted just 15 seconds, but the damage was devastating. Portions of the Bay Bridge collapsed, highways crumbled, and fires broke out across San Francisco. 63 people lost their lives, and over 3,000 were injured. On March 11, 2011, at 2:46 p.m. local time, Japan was struck by a massive 9.1 magnitude earthquake, but the worst was yet to come. Within minutes, news helicopters broadcast an enormous wall of black water surging inland, carrying debris, cars, and entire houses in its path. The destruction was almost incomprehensible. Over 18,000 people were killed, and hundreds of thousands were displaced. The tsunami also triggered the Fukushima nuclear disaster, which forced mass evacuations across Japan.
In Miyagi Prefecture, live coverage of tsunami engulfing the city in Sendai. For those of you who have just tuned in to NHK World, you're seeing live coverage from our helicopters of a tsunami engulfing Sendai area in Miyagi Prefecture.
On April 15, 2019, thick smoke began to rise over Paris. Flames were consuming the roof of the Notre Dame Cathedral, an 800-year-old masterpiece of Gothic architecture. Live coverage captured the spire collapsing, which sent shockwaves through the watching crowd. Firefighters battled for hours to save what they could, and many priceless relics were preserved. A large portion of the roof and structure were lost.
And we just spoke with him, and he was fine, and he was quite concerned about the protesters, and he did not sanction anything that they were doing at all. I thought the whole thing was kind of silly.
This is an arrest taking place at Parker Center.
In 1992, 4 LAPD officers were acquitted in the brutal beating of Rodney King, despite the attack being caught on video. The verdict triggered days of riots across Los Angeles, with live helicopter footage showing fires, looting, and violent attacks. One of the most disturbing moments came when truck driver Reginald Denny was dragged from his vehicle and beaten nearly to death on live TV. The riots claimed over 60 lives and cost more than $1 billion in damages. What had begun as a political rally quickly spiraled into chaos. Rioters breached the U.S. Capitol as Congress met to certify the presidential election results. Live feeds showed broken windows, injured officers, and lawmakers sheltering in place as the U.S. Capitol was overrun. Anchors struggled to find the words, as the seat of American democracy descended into disorder. 5 people died and hundreds were injured. The footage has become one of the most defining political broadcasts in U.S. history. January 28, 1986 was supposed to be a historic day. The Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off, carrying the first teacher set to go to space on board. Millions of students watched the live event in classrooms across the country, but just 73 seconds later, the shuttle exploded, leaving twisted trails of smoke against the sky. Broadcasters fell silent as the magnitude of the tragedy set in. All 7 crew members were killed, and it marked one of NASA's darkest days.
Velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
Looks like a couple of the solid rocket boosters blew away from the side of the shuttle in an explosion.
April 15, 2013. Runners were nearing the finish line of the Boston Marathon when 2 bombs exploded seconds apart. Live coverage captured the confusion, the screams, and the rush to help the wounded. 3 people were killed, and hundreds more were injured. Days later, the manhunt for the suspects played out on live TV, culminating in a tense standoff with one of the bombers hiding in a backyard boat. In 2011, the IndyCar season finale at Las Vegas Motor Speedway turned deadly. Just 11 laps into the race, a massive 15-car crash erupted, sending multiple vehicles airborne. Indy 500 champion Dan Wheldon's car struck a pole and disintegrated instantly. The broadcast quickly cut away, but the silence in the commentary booth was telling. Less than an hour later, his death was confirmed on air, marking one of the sport's darkest moments. On November 22, 1987, Chicago viewers were watching the evening news when something suddenly happened. A man wearing a Max Headroom mask appeared, swaying in front of a spinning background and speaking incoherently. Later that night, he hijacked another broadcast. Authorities never identified the perpetrator, and the bizarre, unsettling footage remains one of television's most famous mysteries.
That is stupid. You should walk often with the old ones of your tribe. That is the only way to learn.
I'll get you a hot drink.
And some dry clothing.
On May 11, 1985, a football match between Bradford City and Lincoln City was underway when smoke began to rise beneath the wooden bleachers. Within minutes, the entire stand was engulfed in flames. 56 people were killed and hundreds more were injured. The match had been broadcast live, and the harrowing footage is now used as fire safety training across all of Europe.
Are having to leave the pitch, and obviously they're back in the tunnels. The heat is now becoming tremendous. I'm sitting immediately opposite the main stand, and I can feel the heat. It's almost beginning to burn me over here, quite honestly.
On July 27, 2007, 2 news helicopters were covering a police chase in Phoenix, Arizona. As they hovered over the scene, they both collided mid-air. The live feed didn't cut out immediately, and viewers heard the final words of the reporters on board. All 4 people in the helicopters were killed instantly.
And it looks like they're probably just going to let this thing
into a parking
play
lot.
out.
Now he's stopped. We'll see what happens
here.
He has stopped. This may be the end of this thing.
Oh, he's taking off, running.
Okay, now it's a foot chase.
Okay, now he's jumped into
now he's
another
in another vehicle. Okay.
All right, they're closing in. Looks like they've.
Oh, geez.
We're going to pull out. We don't know what has just happened right there. It looks like the police have closed in on him. We don't know what exactly has transpired between the police. Stay with ABC 15 News. We will bring you more information as we get it. Also, check our website for updates, abc15.com.
On February 1st, 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia was returning from a 16-day mission when it began to break apart during re-entry. Live cameras captured streaks of debris falling through the Texas sky, and all 7 astronauts who were on board were killed. The tragedy stunned NASA and the nation, and it came less than 2 decades after the Challenger disaster.
Tracking or communications with the Columbia through Merritt Island Tracking Station. Well, communications with Columbia was at 8 a.m. Central Time, approximately above Texas as it approached the Kennedy Space Center for its landing.
Wow.
Flight Director Leroy Cain is now instructing controllers to get out their contingency procedures and begin to follow those.
Oh my goodness. That's unprecedented.
On May 4th, 2007, meteorologists tracked an enormous EF5 tornado heading directly towards Greensburg, Kansas. The mile-wide wedge was caught on live radar and it was broadcast to viewers as it approached. By the time it was over, 95% of the town was destroyed and 11 people had been killed. On June 17, 1994, Game 5 of the NBA Finals was interrupted by a surreal scene. A white Ford Bronco traveling slowly down an LA freeway. Inside was O.J. Simpson, and he was wanted for double murder. 95 million people tuned in as police followed him for hours. The bizarre, low-speed chase became one of the most watched events in television history.
Simpson is in the driver's seat. We've received a report of a gun in the car. The car is heading north, which would be toward Los Angeles. We picked it up in Orange County. The vehicle is registered to Al Cowling, a former teammate, close friend of O.J. Simpson's, who has been a fugitive from justice now almost 12 hours.
On July 15, 1974, Florida news reporter Christine Chubbuck calmly read a news story on air, and then she announced she would be bringing viewers a first in television history. She pulled out a revolver and shot herself in the head. The footage has never been publicly released. However, a few years ago the audio leaked. The incident deeply shocked the local community, and it's changed how newsrooms handle mental health. The deadliest live broadcast in history began as coverage of a fire in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. But then on live TV, a second plane struck the South Tower. A little over an hour later, both towers collapsed. Nearly 3,000 people were killed, and the images of that day became permanently etched into American and world history.
From WABC here in New York. Their crews shot this picture as you see fire trucks and firefighters, rescue personnel at the Trade Center about 30 blocks from where we are right now. And you can see these huge columns of smoke coming off of the front tower and then a bit from the back. As you see, again, the crews working their way towards the tower themselves. It was 1993 that I suspect many of these same firefighters converged on these very same towers after the bombing in the garage level. Help me with this, but I'm pretty sure it was in the garage when a Ryder truck came in and blew up.
On April 20th, 1999, helicopters hovered over Columbine High School as students fled the building. Live footage captured SWAT teams moving in as the death toll climbed to 13. The tragedy sparked national debate over school safety, a debate that's still going on today. On April 15th, 1984, British comedian Tommy Cooper was performing live on television when he suddenly collapsed. The audience laughed, thinking it was just part of the act, but it wasn't. Cooper had suffered a fatal heart attack and died on stage shortly after. After a 51-day standoff, the FBI moved in on the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas, on April 19, 1993. Moments later, the building caught fire. Live cameras captured everything then and everything that had led up to the building burning. And the incident killed 76 people inside, including several children.
But take shelter anyways.
Yeah, take shelter immediately, folks. If you can hear us, if we are still able to broadcast, you need to take shelter. If you are in Western Joplin at this point in time, please continue to.
Just in case it cuts back on.
All right, we're off air.
Yeah. We're off air. Has anyone
On May 22, 2011, live weather coverage showed an EF5 tornado bearing down on Joplin, Missouri. The station went dark seconds before it hit it. When the skies had cleared, 158 people were dead, making it the deadliest tornado in over 60 years. The Summer Olympics were supposed to symbolize peace. Instead, viewers saw updates throughout the night as Palestinian terrorists took 11 Israelis hostage. After a failed rescue, all of the hostages were dead. It was the first time terrorism had unfolded live on a global scale. On August 23, 2010, a former police officer hijacked a bus in Manila, Philippines. Live coverage followed the standoff for hours, but when negotiations failed, police stormed the bus. 8 hostages were killed, and the media was criticized for possibly escalating the situation.
Consumer segment.
Because, you know, one of the nicest things about shopping by mail order... Pardon me? What is this? Let me see what it says. All right.
He's got a gun to his back.
All right, well, let me read this. Folks, we have someone on the set who's standing here and would like me to read this copy which was just handed to me. You want to tell me your name or not? What is it? And Gary, where are you from?
During a live broadcast on KMBC in 1987, reporter David Horowitz was confronted by a man who pointed a gun at him and demanded he read a prepared statement. Horowitz complied calmly, reading the words exactly as they were written while the cameras continued to roll. The man was quickly detained by security, and it was later revealed that the gun was only a replica.